Montana Talks here. Live and local. This is Montana Talks with Aaron Flint.
Talking about the issues that matter to Montana, statewide. This is Montana Talks with Aaron Flint.
Oh, I'm about to go off on a rant. I'll hold off on that one. Maybe it'll just come out anyway later today. But I don't want to start off sounding a little grumpy here. It's Friday morning. It's Freedom Friday. We got our good friend George Blackard joining us in about an hour or so. Always a good time. But let me tell you what. I'm going to use a little bit of this 6 o'clock hour as kind of show prep for the rest of the morning. I wish I could have spent all day yesterday listening to talk radio, all the great lineup, Bongino, Hannity, Levin, the rest of the crew, and then listen to all the Fox News primetime coverage. But I tell you what, I'm gonna do a quick little roll up of some of the biggest national news coverage, at least some of the stuff that popped out at me so far. I wasn't able to watch all of Laura and Jesse Waters and everything, but I think we've got some great highlights for you. Not just for you, but for me, because I haven't been able to watch all this stuff or see some of the highlights yet myself. And so, you get busy, you're running around, running kids around and doing everything else. And then, but anyway, what I wanted to start with here this morning is, I tell you what, man, there are some impressive candidates out there. Absolutely impressive candidates. So, went to Beartooth Harley-Davidson last night. Great State Senator Barry Usher, his place. And by the way, his wife made some incredible food for this event. But there was a candidate meet and greet. And I like to go to these from time to time. I can't make all of them. But I wanted to go to this one because I'll tell you what, we get people that get so fired up and excited about the presidential race and about a Senate race, and that's important too. But man, we have got to hold on to the Office of Public Instruction. The radical left-wing folks, the shut up and wear your masks folks, want to take back control of the Office of Public Instruction. Elsie Arnzen, she was the first Republican in over 30 years to take that office. She's now termed out. Of course, she's one of the candidates for the Eastern Congressional District. And so that's an open seat. And so, these radical left-wing activists, the people that told you to shut up and wear masks, the people that want to push these sexualized and violent materials on your kids in their libraries and elsewhere, they want to take back control of that office. I went to a meet and greet for Susie Headland last night. She may drop in later today. We got open phones here on this Open Lines Friday, so I think she might even drop by the studio. We're not scheduling too many political guests, but just like folks can call into the show, sometimes we'll have folks that pop into our studios as well. But I'll tell you what, if you haven't gotten a chance to meet Susie Headland yet, one of the Republican candidates for Office of Public Instruction, she is just a phenomenal candidate with a phenomenal story. I forget who I was talking with afterwards. I said, but it's like you just take a normal, everyday, great teacher doing great things, who's got great ideas and a great vision for our schools, and you're now running her as a candidate. She's got a great message, great ideas. Anyway, I'll talk more about that after this here in the early morning hours of Montana Talks. Plus, we got Open Lines Friday here for most of the morning as well.
Securing America.
The Pentagon is shipping arms and supplies to Ukraine after Congress's passage of $61 billion in new aid for that country. Pentagon Press Secretary Major General Patrick Ryder spoke about the issue during a briefing Thursday.
We've already started the process to move some of the weapons, ammunition, and equipment, which will be, as I mentioned earlier, there within days, if not sooner.
Some are concerned that continuing U.S. support of Ukraine will lead to an increased U.S. military presence there. But Ryder reiterates that any American advisors will continue to work out of the embassy in Kyiv.
The United States has no intent of conducting combat operations inside of Ukraine, nor are these forces going to be anywhere near the front lines.
Ryder says the bottom line is
Ukraine matters. What happens in Ukraine from a security standpoint impacts not only Ukraine, but European security and international security.
Kevin Uretsky, Fox News.
Here's a look at your real weather for Billings and Bozeman. With cloudy skies and some rain shower activity around the area today, high temperature readings will range from 51 in Bozeman to near 70 in the Billings area. For tonight, we'll see more rain shower activity as low temperatures stay from around 40 in Bozeman to the mid-40s in Billings. That will still stay with cloudy skies and some more shower activity in the area on Saturday. This is weatherology meteorologist Paul Trombley.
This is where Montana talks. Montana Talks with Aaron Flint.
I don't check it too much more because it kind of went left, but I was just scanning the Drudge Report here during that news and weather break. Look at this headline here. Where is this from? Yahoo. Here's the headline, though, at thedrudgereport.com. Let's see. No sale. TikTok prefers shutdown if legal options fail, sources say. Isn't that interesting? So what the communist Chinese-owned TikTok is saying, they're getting plenty of time. They're getting the kid gloves treatment. These same leftist judges and Joe Biden and John Tester that shut your business down in a heartbeat, they're giving TikTok plenty of time to figure this all out. But anyway, TikTok is saying, we would rather shut down than sell to somebody else. What they're basically telling you is unless we can be controlled by the communist Chinese, unless we can be a pipeline straight back to the communist Chinese party, we don't want to be in business. We don't want to make money. We don't want to make money off the sale. No, we are here to be a platform from the communist Chinese. You sever that link. Why do we need to exist? That's what TikTok is basically saying in this Yahoo story. All right, I digress. It's a random start for you here at 6:14, 6:12 in the morning here. But yeah, back to this meet and greet that I got to go to last night. Got to hear a little bit more of her story. I think when Susie Headland first announced that she was going to be running for the Office of Public Instruction here to be the superintendent of public instruction for the whole state of Montana, I was very impressed. She joined us in our studios. I think we were the first, if not one of the first, if not the first place that she stopped in when announcing her candidacy. Just very impressed. I'd heard great things about her before. Because Townsend, Montana, she's the school superintendent there. I think she oversees about 200 staff there in Broadwater County. And what I had known about her before she even announced her candidacy is that she is very pro-military families and veteran families. And there's this thing known as Purple Star Schools. She has been such a huge supporter of military families, and so before I even knew anything else about her, I knew, hey, this is a school superintendent who's got her priorities in line and who's looking out for the kids of our military service members. And of course, Townsend's just south of Helena, and you got Fort Harrison. You got a big military presence in the Helena area, so that's important. But man, I got to hear even more of her story last night. She talked about starting in Grass Range, Montana, and how they kind of joke that Grass Range is the boot camp for school superintendents. You want to learn what it really takes to be a school superintendent, you go to Grass Range, Montana, and you start in Grass Range, Montana. She said, yeah, I had to figure out how to trap gophers to keep kids from spraining their ankles out on the playground. To part-time janitor / teacher / everything. You got to do it all in a place like Grass Range. So it's such a great place for folks to get a chance to work and to learn about education and to learn about communities all around. So she talked a little bit about that, but then I believe, if I'm not mistaken, she also sits on I didn't take notes, I was just listening. I believe she also sits on the Board of Public Education as well. She was appointed by Governor Greg Gianforte to the Board of Public Education. And there were the other thing that I was really appreciative of is that this wasn't just your normal Republican conservative meet and greet for a candidate. Not that there's anything wrong with that, right, Jerry Seinfeld? It wasn't just your normal, like, she had school leaders in the house. The Superintendent Garcia for School District 2 was there. And if I'm not mistaken, is supporting her. And then you had school leaders from Fromberg, Montana there. So you had one of the biggest school district in the state to one of the smaller school districts there in the house for this event. And her message was not only keeping this woke garbage out of our schools and focus on the importance of basic education, right? And math and sciences and things like that. But also she was like, she looked over to these school officials like Superintendent Garcia and said, how much manpower is wasted simply filling out paperwork, filling out all this paperwork. And so one of the things, if she drops in later this morning, I want to have her talk about that, about how she's trying to integrate more technology into our school system and eliminate some of this bureaucratic BS and just simplify things. So simplify things for these school districts. I mean, think about it. If they're wasting manpower, manually doing all this paperwork that could simply be done online or whatever, how much time is being wasted? I mean, look at what Attorney General Austin Knudsen was able to do as he, simply walked into the motor vehicles department. I don't think they had ever seen an attorney general, the head of the Montana Department of Justice, which the DMV is under. I don't think they'd ever seen an attorney general walk in there and say, hey, what do you guys need? How's it going over here? What can we do to make things easier? And they said, well, look, we can automate all this other stuff over here. And that's why you don't have the massive long lines like you used to always see, right? And that's one of the things Susie Headland was talking about. She was talking about the fact that, hey, North Dakota implemented a system already. Why, Montana could implement a system like this. So anyway, I think she can build on some of the successes and some of the reforms that we've seen get across the finish line now with a first-time Republican superintendent in over 30 years that we've seen here. And then she can build on that now, and I think even widen the support for a new common sense program at OPI. So anyway, very excited about her candidacy.
I'm Chad Pergram with the Speaker's Lobby. Everyone hung around in the House recently to see if Marjorie Taylor Greene would pop her resolution to dump House Speaker Mike Johnson. It would be hard to underscore just how dramatic the scene that could be, especially since Democrats bailed out Johnson to put the foreign aid package on the floor. And when it came to Ukraine, only 101 Republicans voted yay. 112 Republicans voted no. Yet Greene never came after Johnson on Saturday afternoon, at least parliamentarily. Greene spoke in near biblical terms about the Speaker. Greene did not invoke Peter's 3 betrayals of Jesus, but she did declare that the Speaker's advancement of the Foreign Assistance Program was the 3rd betrayal by Mike Johnson. So there was no vote over the weekend on Johnson's viability as Speaker, right? Au contraire, there was in fact a test vote. It wasn't the type of no-confidence vote engineered by Greene to vacate the chair and force tumult in the House, requiring another election for Speaker. Instead, the House took a confidence vote in Johnson, the vote on Ukraine. The House passed the bill, and nothing happened to Johnson. With the Speaker's Lobby, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
Here's a look at your real weather for Billings and Bozeman. With cloudy skies and some rain shower activity around the area today. High temperature readings will range from 51 in Bozeman to near 70 in the Billings area. For tonight, we'll see more rain shower activity as low temperatures stay from around 40 in Bozeman to the mid-40s in Billings. That will still stay with cloudy skies and some more shower activity in the area on Saturday. This is weatherology meteorologist Paul Trombley.
Good morning, everybody. It's time for your Daybreak Egg Report. I'm Russell Nemitz, and thanks for being with us here on the Western Egg Network. Well, over the past month or so, we've certainly watched both the live cattle and feeder cattle contracts spiral lower as the markets seem to be a feather in the wind, if you will, to the ongoing avian influenza story. And through this time, there's been a lingering thought in the back of cattle producers' minds. What in the heck is this feeder cattle market going to do this summer and fall? Well, DTN's livestock analyst Shaylee Stewart says that the feeder cattle complex has seen tremendous demand through the early months of 2024. And given that the U.S. beef cow herd still remains at its lowest inventory in the past 61 years, She believes that feeder cattle demand through the latter half of the year should remain strong as well. In some other news here on this Friday morning, for years now, the U.S. Grains Council has shown its commitment to the Mexican brewing industry and the U.S. barley growers who provide high-quality malt being used in the brews down there. And as the craft beer sector in Mexico has grown, so has the council's scope of programming to help assist those buyers specifically. Several Mexican craft buyers are actually back in the U.S. this week to attend Brew Expo America in Las Vegas with the goal of closing on their first shipment of malt barley. Now, during the past marketing year alone, Mexico reigned supreme as the top U.S. barley and barley products customers. And of course, a lot of that barley is still grown right here in Western Egg Network country. Stay with us. We'll have more egg news right after this. Make plans now to travel to the historic cowtown of Miles City for the Montana Farm Bureau's annual summer conference, June 10th through the 12th. The meeting starts Monday with the Young Farmers and Ranchers meeting and tour, along with the Women's Leadership Committee meeting. Tuesday features workshops and committee meetings, followed by the Foundation fundraiser. Amazing Miles City-oriented tours will take place Wednesday, along with the annual golf tournament. For all the registration information, visit mfbf.org or check out the Facebook page.
Pulse Growers, Northern Pulse Growers Association, and the Northern Crops Institute invite you to the Pulse Potential webinar series featuring Jeff Van Pevenich, President and CEO of Columbia Grain. The webinar is Wednesday, May 1st at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. Topic is Pulse Processing Worldwide with Jeff Van Pevenich. Learn about Pulse products from processor to customer. Jeff discusses Pulse processing worldwide, such as Pulse shipping, processing steps, overseas delivery, global potential, and more. Go to northern-crops.com/webinars for details.
Well, hey, it looks like Shell Wyoming ranchers Morgan and Scotland Flintner will be featured on an upcoming RFD TV Rancher episode set to air on Tuesday, May 7th at 7 o'clock p.m. our time. Now, the series focuses on the incredible women who work in the ranching and livestock industry as we know it today. Host Janie Johnson enjoys a rip-roaring time with Morgan and Scotland, tenacious sisters working with the family ranch, raising horses and cattle on some 300,000 acres of Wyoming Badlands. Should be a great, great episode. And finally this morning, as environmental and animal activist groups push to have gray wolves federally protected again in Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming, elsewhere in our coverage area, the Colorado Parks and Wildlife now says it'll not remove a male wolf linked to recent livestock depredation incidents after discovering its likely breeding. For the Western Egg Network, I'm Russell Nemitz.
Serving the great state of Montana, from the peaks of the Beartooths to the banks of the Clark Fork River. Montana Talks with Aaron Flint.
All right, what do you want to talk about? Give us a call, 406-294-0970. In the meantime, I'm going to catch up on some of the news and information I missed last night, if you don't mind. Maybe some of you missed it as well, especially if you're up here in the 6 o'clock hour of the show. You probably have to call it an early night. You were probably running around, going to this, going to that, and so maybe you missed some of the talk radio programming yesterday afternoon. Maybe you missed some of the big programs last night. I didn't get a chance to watch this yet. John Yoo is a legal expert. I've seen him before. Very smart. I forget which university he's affiliated with. I can't remember if he's Stanford, if he's over there with Victor Davis Hanson or what, but very smart guy. He was on Fox News. He basically says that Donald Trump won a two-front war yesterday. So, Donald Trump is fighting on all fronts, right? And appears to be winning on all fronts. But Donald Trump, you had two things going on yesterday. Of course, you had this ongoing political persecution trial, the hush money case in New York City. And then, by the way, Trump's going to be doing a rally at Madison Square Gardens I would love to go to that rally. Holy cow, would that be cool? Anyway, the other, so that was one front of a war. The other war front was at the Supreme Court on this whole presidential immunity case. Anyway, let's see what John Yoo had to say. I didn't get a chance to even watch this yet myself.
Again, I think that we're asking, what is the crime that Judge Merchan thinks happened here? I think the more we see, the less there is. Combine that with what you were asking earlier. How does this interact with Trump's immunity case? This has been, I'm shocked actually how good a day Trump had on both legal fronts. Usually you don't win a two-front war. Ask Germany in 1945. But it looks like Trump is successfully actually turning the legal tables in his favor. I wouldn't have expected this. I think the judiciary is being fairer to him than most people would have expected. And I think actually the less Trump makes it about him, the better he's going to do. One thing we've been emphasizing is what effect does this have on future presidents? Perhaps what we've been ignoring, which may be equally important, is what effect does this have on our campaigns and our elections? This is all being done not just to a former president, but the incumbent president, Joe Biden's main rival for the presidency. And we could be really distorting the criminal justice system and our electoral system if we allow the criminal laws to be used to punish and stop someone from running for the presidency against an incumbent. That's where South America has gone. That's where countries in Europe have gone, and it's really harmed their political systems. This is what we're starting to see today.
Anyway, very interesting. Yeah, John, you felt it was a very good day for Donald Trump in two separate legal battles, two different war fronts in the fight to save America. But yeah, Donald Trump says he's going to be holding a rally at Madison Square Gardens. Yeah, this is going to be like Garth Brooks playing Central Park. New York City's about to start rocking and rolling, aren't they? All right, stand by. We'll get to your calls right after this.
Fox News, I'm CJ Papa. Donald Trump's hush money trial resumes today. Cross-examination. The first prosecution witness, David Pecker.
The former National Enquirer tabloid publisher says he cut a lot of so-called catch-and-kill deals with a lot of famous people through the years, not just former President Trump. President Trump's lawyer cross-examining Pecker, trying to bring out the weaknesses in this case.
Fox's Eric Shawn outside the courthouse. This is what it sounds like this morning at George Washington University encampment in D.C. Meanwhile, President Biden expected in Midtown Manhattan, but he's also expected to skip the protests at Columbia University. The president receiving criticism for his silence on the anti-Israel protests on college campuses nationwide. America's listening to Fox News.
Oh, yeah, America may be listening to Fox News, but Montana is listening to Tim in Savage. Tim, thanks for the phone call. Great to hear from you this morning.
Hey, good morning. Just checking in from beautiful Mondakistan. The sun is up. It's a beautiful Freedom Friday out here.
Oh, well, amen. Great to hear.
Yeah, I just wanted to call. Great to know you got to catch up with Susie again last night, and she has my 100% support. She knows what our schools need. She's worked from our smallest schools all the way up to the biggest schools, helped run the state agency. She knows federal programs, so she understands that liaison. She knows what we need to do and works phenomenally. She is the vice chair on the Board of Public Ed and is the liaison to Macy, which is our Indian Education Association, and so she works phenomenally with them. You already mentioned her connection with the military and a great supporter, and you mix in all of that experience and knowledge. Plus, she's got solid conservative values, so you couldn't get a better candidate than Susie for schools.
Well, and then to top it off, her husband, I don't know if you've met her husband, but the guy's like a walleye fisherman pro. He and his teammate were like fourth in the state for walleye fishing last year, and he's an electrician. So, anyway, just a cool family all around. But, yeah, so you guys served together on the Board of Public Ed, right?
Yeah, I've known Susie for probably going on 10 years. I knew her back when she was the superintendent out at Grass Range and kind of watched her and knew her as her career evolved from that point on. Worked with her at the OPI and now, together with her on the Board of Public Ed for quite a number, going on a couple years now. And yeah, I've been a friend of hers and a colleague of hers for quite some time.
Yeah, I think she's really going to be able to take things to a whole new level, build on some of the reforms that have been put in place, but really take things to a whole new level and get some buy-in out there from other folks within the education community. And I think the Democrat opponent is basically a Democrat state senator out of Missoula. I think we know enough already about the opponent, right?
Yeah, you can count on that. But Susie she knows schools. She's been, she has that understanding. She's been in the classroom. She's what you were talking about last night. I mean, that's the number of hours that we spend filling out reports. I mean, I shared years and years ago that the superintendent position has become basically a compliance officer filling out paperwork for the district to submit to the state and feds. And even yesterday, in my role as county superintendent, I spent about 2 hours working on just one small part of a federal program that I needed to make a change to, and it just it took time and effort. We shouldn't be having to go through that much work. It should be able to spend the time working with the kids, working with the staff. That's what the superintendent should be doing, not just filling out paperwork.
That's right. Focusing on things like school safety, school security, instead of, a bunch of bureaucratic paperwork. All right. Tim, if you got more to share, stand by. I'll come back to you after the break. Got a hard break to hit here right now. For those of you just tuning in, if you missed the very open of the show this morning, we're talking about Susie Headland, a candidate for Superintendent of Public Instruction, an incredible candidate for OPI.
Democracy 24.
In what could be a sign of things to come, anti-Israel squad member Democratic Congresswoman Summer Lee easily defeated her pro-Israel primary challenger in Pittsburgh on Tuesday night. This as there are new warning signs for both President Biden and former President Trump, who easily won nominations here in Pennsylvania. For President Biden, the pro-Palestinian uncommitted write-in campaign led to more than 36,000 write-ins this primary. The number of write-in votes are up 171% compared to 2020. This is a campaign to protest Biden's stance on Israel. For former President Trump, who won the Republican primary, Nikki Haley, who dropped out of the race just 2 months ago, still received 157,000 votes. That's considerable, given Pennsylvania is a closed primary, allowing only registered Republicans to vote in the race. Could this be a warning sign for Trump with moderate suburban Republicans? In Philadelphia, Brian Yennis, Fox News.
That's it. I'm doing it. I'm stepping into the Octagon Saturday night at the Brick Breeden Fieldhouse in Bozeman. But before that, hey, why don't you guys come down and see us? We're going to be at the Rockin' R Bar Friday night from 5 to 7 p.m. Saturday morning, V42 Fitness in Three Forks. Hey, we got a great lineup of events this weekend. Hope to see you there. Check out the full details. Go to MontanaTalks.com or download the Montana Talks app on your smartphone. You'll see that, plus full podcast audio.
Taking your calls live. 406-294-0970. Montana Talks with Aaron Flint.
All right. Luckily, Tim and Savage was able to stick around for a few more minutes. Always get some great messages from him on the app, but on the rare occasion he calls in, it's always great to hear from him. Always great to hear from you as well. We enjoy your messages, but even better yet to get your phone calls. 406-294-0970. Tim, we were talking about this race for the Office of Public Instruction for Superintendent of Public Instruction, and I think there's only one Democrat candidate in the race, a Democrat state senator out of Missoula. You've heard enough. They've got some of the most radical politicians in the country, are Democrat lawmakers out of Missoula. But it is a contested primary for Superintendent of Public Instruction. You've got, of course, Susie Headland. I got to go to her meet and greet last night. Such an impressive, remarkable candidate. What in the world happened? I saw a Missoulian story. Apparently, the other Republican candidate in the race, Cheryl Allen, I think she's a superintendent in Harrison right now, if I remember right. Let me pull up Twitter here. Apparently
that's where she's at.
Is she at Harrison? Yeah, apparently she got arrested yesterday and spent a night in jail. Have you heard about this story?
Well, all I know is what I read in the IR article that came out yesterday afternoon, and I gathered just from that is that she appeared in court, and it was something from earlier, but I don't know that it happened yesterday. But I'm not certain. I couldn't tell exactly, but all I know is that a statement was forthcoming is what I heard. But no, I haven't heard any details on what happened there. But and the claim was something with, interfering with law enforcement on something. So it's really hard to say what that could be.
Yeah, it's interesting here. The headline at the Billings Gazette, it's a report from David Erickson out of the Missoulian, candidate for head of Montana OPI charged with obstructing a peace officer. And then it looks like they reached out to her to get some sort of a response or a quote, and she said that she was, quote, preparing a press release, but that it was being reviewed by legal. But she did tell the Missoulian, Cheryl Allen did tell the Missoulian, the information that she had been charged with the misdemeanor was, quote, accurate, but she declined to provide more details. So anyway, it'd be interesting to see what the story was there. But yeah, apparently it was in Bozeman? Let me double check. Oh, Madison County. Or no, wait, hold on one second. Has been charged with misdemeanor obstruction of a peace officer or other public. And then now they're asking me to subscribe or log in as I was reading the article. For Pete's sake, come on now. Golly. But anyway, yeah, I think it was in Madison County, not in Gallatin County, apparently, as I was thinking there.
Well, we know Susie was with you last night, and she was not arrested, so everything is good there.
That's right. Well, now that they find out that I was at one of her events, they might try to arrest her somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Might want to stay out of Missoula for a couple of days. Susie Headland, what a remarkable candidate, though, for Office of Public Instruction. That's been one of my rants, one of my pet peeves here lately, Tim, is that you know how important our schools are. And how important these educational issues are to our listeners, to Montana voters right now. And yet, how many times do we see fellow conservatives, fellow Republicans, or just everyday people? They get whipped into a frenzy about the presidential race, and it's great. Trump's going to win Montana. That's awesome. That's great. The radical left wants to take over the Office of Public Instruction. We've got 2 Supreme Court seats to win here, and yet so often these Republicans will spend so much time fighting each other, whining about this, whining about that. It's like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, and even if you look out here with our congressional district, as important as that seat is, and as how many people are vying for that. That's one of 435 people in D.C. And you look at the state superintendent race, and that's considered a down ticket race. I hate that term, but that's what it is. I mean, it's everything is around the president, and then the Senate, and then the House, and then everything else is down ticket. Well, that is so vital for our education system in the state of Montana. And, with the Board of Public Education and the Office of Public Instruction, they need to work hand in hand in guiding schools, creating policy and direction, and especially with everything coming out of D.C. Now we've got the Biden administration blowing up Title IX, and you already have 2 states that have said, that's telling their schools, ignore that. This is going to be challenged. Don't change it. I mean, the push coming from D.C., you want boys and girls locker rooms, and all of the efforts that were made to promote and support girls' sports throughout Montana. I mean, all of my 20-plus years as a coach, I spent most of my time coaching girls' athletics, and all of those efforts that have been made completely blown up just with the time that Biden's been in office. So that being able to advocate for our students is something that we know that Susie's going to be able to do and stand up to the D.C. politics and make sure we do what's right for Montana.
Well, you hit on Title IX. I mean, think about it. If we had a Democrat superintendent of public instruction right now, if we have one 9 months from now, what would they be doing? Joe Biden forces boys into girls' locker rooms and boys on girls' sports with this Title IX, a bureaucratic maneuver here. the leftist lawyers that are advising some of these school districts, they were really, really busy 5 days ago. They had like 10 other things on their plate. Superintendent so-and-so, we'll get to that when we get to it. We're kind of busy. But now all of a sudden, their buddy Joe Biden and John Tester pushed down these Title IX deals to push, men into girls' locker rooms. All of a sudden, these lawyers are like, we got to do this right now. We got to get this done. It's like, no. Slow your frickin' roll, bro. Wait for the lawsuit to come down from Attorney General Austin Knudsen and probably 28 other Republican AGs that are going to stand up and fight this BS. But that's why it's important that we have good superintendents out there at the state level, at the local level, that say, okay, slow your frickin' roll. We're not opening the floodgates for boys and girls sports and boys and girls locker rooms just because Joe Biden says so. Slow your freaking roll, bro, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was actually surprised 2 other states stepped in first. I assumed that Austin would be the first in the country to file against the Department of Education on the Title IX guidance, but he'll get through it real quick. I'm not worried about it there.
Oh, yeah, and then he's going to have, and then I'll bet you there's another lawsuit coming against the Biden administration for this effort to shut down power plants across America, coal power plants in particular. In fact, I left myself a note because, you know me, I get easily distracted. Squirrel! And you never know what we're going to talk about on the show, but this was a note I left for myself earlier this morning. It's coming. There's going to be a power plant lawsuit, and there's going to be a Title IX lawsuit. It's coming. All right, Tim and Savage, great to hear from you. Our Mondakistan Bureau Chief out of the Montana-North Dakota border. Great to hear from you here in the early morning hours of the show. Happy Freedom Friday. Always a pleasure. Tim, if we had more time, one other thing I was going to ask you. You're the type of guy that will go back and listen to all the podcasts. What has stood out to you for the whole week? It's Friday, Freedom Friday. What stood out to you over the past week? What were some of the big picture things? Because I always like to look back on the week and say, man, what did we talk about this week? What was the most important, or what was the most interesting, or the most funny? You name it. Anyway, let's go to Tim in Billings next up. Tim, great to hear from you.
Morning, Aaron. Good to hear that everything's good on the Eastern Front from Tim and Savage. He's fighting a good fight out there. There's just a couple of things that I wanted to mention. For one, that Korean Jean-Pierre. Did you happen to see when the reporter sneezed in the gallery there, and she asked if he said something? They go, "Oh crap!" Sneeze. He actually just sneezed, and she asked if he said something. It's almost like she's got a guilty conscience that every word coming out of her mouth is absolute bullcrap.
Hey, I saw a headline. I mentioned I don't check the Drudge Report too often anymore, but they had a headline about her, about KJP. Where was it? Inside the failed White House coup to oust Biden press secretary. So they know they got to get rid of KJP, but it's tough to do because, she's black and she's gay. That's the only reason she got the job, and they don't want to piss people off because, you don't want to fire the black gay press secretary. And I'm like, isn't there another black gay press secretary out there that could competently do the job? I'm sure there is, right?
Sign Zoe Zephyr. Although Zoe Zephyr's probably not the right race, but everything else checks out, right? But anyways, the other thing that I was kind of listening between the show and the updates and a little bit of the SCOTUS argument yesterday about the presidential immunity. And it is astounding to me. The Democrats are just going absolute scorched earth on Donald Trump. They will burn our Constitution and our country to the ground to go after this one man. It doesn't matter what the office is. It doesn't matter what the law says. It doesn't matter what's happened historically. And if he has zero presidential immunity, then neither do some of their greatest heroes. FDR put Japanese Americans in internment camps. War criminal. Harry Truman killed hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people when he dropped 2 atomic bombs on Japan.
That's
War
right.
criminal.
That's right.
Bill Clinton.
That's Supreme Court. Oh, we could go on about Bill Clinton, couldn't we? Sorry, I got to hit the hard break here, but Tim, great to hear from you.
Your morning espresso starts right here. It's the Sean Hannity Morning Minute.
The White House puts out official transcripts whenever the president speaks. And in this folks, imagine what we can do the next 4 more years. Pause. The way they write it up in the official transcript. 4 more years. inaudible. No, let's play that again because it sounds very audible to me when he says pause. You decide.
Imagine what we can do next. 4 more years. Pause. 4 more years. Pause. 4 more years.
What do you call that, Linda? Propaganda, misinformation, lying, all the above?
I mean, I call it lying. I think lying really sums it up well.
The Sean Hannity Show from coast to coast later today.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle, unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. And right now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. With ZipRecruiter, one click sends your job to hundreds of top job sites. But more than that, ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies the candidates with the skills you need, sends you a list of great matches to review, then actively invites them to apply for your job. And the results speak for themselves. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's right, the first day. Now you can focus on your business and let ZipRecruiter do the work finding the best people for you. See for yourself. Experience the ease, efficiency, and power of ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
This is the Montana Economic Minute.
Have you ever had a windfall, an inheritance from a relative you hardly knew, an unexpectedly high tax refund, or maybe, no, almost certainly, a stimulus check coming in for the government? The only thing that dampens the joy of extra cash is the certainty that it will not continue. Yet many of us have trouble bringing our spending back down when that reality arrives. So it may be for some crucial pieces of the economy in the coming months as the sugar high of stimulus spending fades and reality returns. Banks have enjoyed high deposits from households and businesses stashing away their extra cash. State governments had a surge in revenues and record budget surpluses. And stock markets kept going up in the low interest rate environment where that was the only place to earn a return. A return to normality will be a big change, but it's rapidly upon us. Montana's revenues are flat, stock markets are choppy, and extra cash is disappearing fast from bank vaults everywhere. Reality is arriving. I'm Patrick Beck.
Text DEAL to 511-511. Text DEAL to 511-511. All dogs are unique. Your dog's results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply.
This is where Montana talks. Montana Talks with Aaron Flint.
This is a random headline, and I mentioned I was scanning the Drudge Report. It's been a while since I've scanned the Drudge Report. There were a few interesting headlines here this morning. I mentioned, inside the failed White House coup to oust the Biden press secretary. I mentioned that headline. What about this headline? This is kind of just a random headline. Why lesbians die younger than straight women. This is in the UK Daily Mail. Apparently, lesbian women die 20% younger than straight women. That's kind of interesting. Wow. Anyway, apparently that report just came out by the Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare Institute. Anyway, random headline there. That one's interesting. Well, let's jump right into it here before we get to George Blackard with Freedom Friday coming up in the 7 o'clock hour of the show. Here's the legislative update from the Montana Family Foundation.
We're a radio show that generally focuses on the serious political and cultural issues of our day. We begin this broadcast with a somewhat humorous event that took place this week in Helena. For the past several weeks, we've been focused on CI 128, a ballot measure that would embed abortion as a guaranteed right in the Montana Constitution. Most importantly, we've talked about the fact that the amendment goes much further than the proponents suggest. It allows any quote-unquote healthcare professional to deem a late-term abortion to be medically necessary right up to the moment of birth. Since the term healthcare professional is not defined, it could mean a doctor or nurse or paramedic or chiropractor or dentist or psychologist. You get the idea. This amendment also strips parents of their parental rights in the case of a minor and actually protects those who sexually abuse kids. Finally, the amendment takes away the ability of the legislature to place reasonable restrictions on abortions or abortion providers. The bottom line is for everyone to decline to sign if you're approached by someone gathering signatures to place CI 128 on the ballot. And speaking of signature gatherers, we've been encouraging everyone to videotape signature gatherers to ensure that they're following the law. It's perfectly legal as long as it's in a public space and as long as you in no way harass the signature gatherer. This is where it gets funny. This week, a person was gathering signatures in Helena. Another person walked by, saw him, and announced that he was going to videotape, at which point the signature gatherer took off running as fast as he could. Which begs the question, why run away if you're not doing anything wrong? It's perfectly legal to gather signatures in a public space, but our sources in South Dakota have told us that they were able to collect hundreds of hours of abortion amendment signature gatherers in that state that were actually breaking the law. So many hours, in fact, that the South Dakota Attorney General threatened to file charges if the signature gatherers failed to clean up their act. Videotaping is not harassment, but it does let Planned Parenthood's minions know that someone's watching. Once again, why did that signature gatherer in Helena take off running if he was doing nothing wrong? The fact that he did run would simply be hilarious if it didn't raise some serious questions. On a lighter note, my wife and I this week went to see a premiere of the movie Unsung Hero. For those who haven't heard, it's the true story behind the Christian artist Rebecca St. James, and I can honestly say this is the best movie we've seen in years. It's actually the story of Rebecca's father, a music producer in Australia, who uprooted his wife and 6 kids and brought them to America so he could chase his dreams. To say it wasn't easy for the family would be an understatement. The movie had us laughing and crying on the edge of our seats, and in the end, emotionally exhausted. It's the story of a tight-knit Christian family led by an extremely strong mother, a visionary father, and a group of kids who, through their faith in Christ, overcame some extremely difficult circumstances that resulted in 5 Grammy Awards. This is a movie you don't want to miss. It shows parents and family in a positive light, and best of all, it's a true story. Once again, it's called Unsung Hero. It opens in theaters tonight, and we're encouraging everyone to attend. For the Montana Family Foundation, this is Jeff Laszloffy reminding you that this government is your government, and your input does make a difference.
Contact the Montana Family Foundation at 406-628-1141 or on the web at montanafamily.org.
All right, thanks to, by the way, got to see Jeff Laszloffy yesterday. Always great seeing you, Jeff. Freedom Friday next.
Media Minute with Howard Kurtz.
It was a stunning split-screen moment. The Supreme Court in live audio hearing Donald Trump's arguments about absolute presidential immunity, while at the hush money trial, based on reporters' notes, David Pecker continued to testify. Now, the justices came up with all kinds of reasons why you couldn't have blanket immunity. What if the president staged a coup, or planned an assassination, or engaged in election fraud? But at the same time, the conservative justice was hinting they might send it back to the lower court. That would delay it until after the election, maybe forever, the prosecution of January 6th. David Pecker, the former Inquirer publisher, saying that Karen McDougal, Playboy model, told him she didn't want to be the next Monica Lewinsky, and so they gave her a contract. The Inquirer laid out the money. Trump knew all about it. At the same time, he wouldn't advance the money for Stormy Daniels because he hadn't gotten repaid for the first one. With your Media Minute, Howie Kurtz, Fox News.